You're sitting in a bustling Parisian cafe. The waiter approaches, smiles, and asks you a question in perfect, rapid French. You understand every single word he just said. The translation arrives in your head flawlessly. But when you open your mouth to reply, your mind goes completely blank. You can read a complex novel long before you can write a simple paragraph. For decades, language teaching relied on a seemingly logical assumption. If you just pour enough vocabulary into that receptive bucket through endless listening, it will eventually overflow into your productive bucket. Modern linguistics and second language acquisition research show that this overflow theory is false. Passive consumption of information never automatically grants you the ability to produce it. If you want words to move from one bucket to the other, you have to build a structural bridge manually. Listening feels easier because our brains are excellent at guessing. When we hear a sentence, we use contextual clues to grasp the meaning without needing to process every single grammatical rule. Speaking demands a much heavier cognitive load. Producing language requires you to build sentences entirely from scratch, pulling exact vocabulary and precise syntax out of thin air. To see how stubborn this gap really is, researchers tracked the vocabulary sizes of university-level English majors over a full academic year. This chart shows the students' receptive vocabulary scores over that year. The data lines are flat and even trend slightly downward. Despite a full year of immersive study and reading, their passive understanding of vocabulary stagnated. Now, look at this second chart, which measures their productive vocabulary over that exact same period. Here, we see distinct upward trending lines. Only their active, usable vocabulary actually grew. This isolated growth happened for one specific reason. The students were forced to perform high-stakes output tasks, like writing essays and translating texts. Productive skills are highly defensive. They only grow when they are directly and actively forced, and they cannot be inherited from passive listening. To bridge this cognitive gap, linguists point to two necessary triggers. The first is the highlighter effect, formerly known as the noticing hypothesis. Learners must consciously observe the mortar between words. Instead of just listening for the main nouns to get the gist of a sentence, you have to pay hyper attention to how native speakers structure the grammatical glue connecting those nouns. The second trigger is the uncomfortable push, or what researchers call the output hypothesis. When you stumble mid-sentence and struggle to find a specific word, that mental friction flags the word as important to your brain. It initiates the transfer from your passive memory over to your active, productive bucket. This process often causes frustration and register anxiety, the fear of using a term incorrectly, which leads many learners to quit prematurely. This mental friction is the biological process of wiring a new word into your productive memory. Modern linguists solve this problem using a practical framework called integrated skills learning. The core rule of this method is simple. Never practice a receptive skill without immediately pairing it with a productive task. If you read a short news article in your target language, stop immediately and force yourself to summarize it out loud from memory. Or, after listening to a podcast episode, immediately sit down and write a physical paragraph reacting to the arguments made. This immediate feedback loop prevents words from getting trapped in the passive bucket. It forces your brain to build that structural bridge while the information is still fresh. Let's go back to that bustling Parisian cafe. Only this time, when the waiter asks for your order, you take a breath, smile, and push through the hesitation. Stumbling over your syntax is the primary mechanism of language acquisition. Mastering any complex system, whether you're learning a new language, writing code, or playing an instrument, requires you to transition from a passive consumer to an active producer. True fluency is built entirely in the uncomfortable, messy moments of daring to speak.